Good morning, friends. Last class we had discussed about general features of family Rhabdoviridae. Today we will continue with this, and today we will discuss about important diseases caused by the viruses belongs to family Rhabdoviridae. Uh, we can say that last class I had discussed that family Rhabdoviridae classified under order Mononegavirals that contain three important genus, namely Lyssavirus, Vesiculovirus, and Ephemerovirus. They cause the disease, namely rabies, vesicular stomatitis, and bovine ephemeral fever disease. So today we will discuss in depth about rabies and in brief about these two diseases. In brief, last class we had discussed that Rhabdoviridae, they are the envelope virus and that has characteristic bullet shape. Genome is a single molecule, linear, negative sense, single stranded RNA that encodes 5 important genes, and these particular genes are interspaced with other pseudogenes. The transcription mechanism has an important point, that is attenuated transcription, stop-start transcription, or sometimes it is also referred as stuttering transcription mechanism. In replication, we had discussed that entire replication happens inside the cytoplasma of host cell, and they may not produce characteristic inclusion body. In case of rabies, it is known as Negri body, and when we are cultivating viruses at high MOI, they may produce DI particle. So this is the background of family Rhabdoviridae. Now we will move over the diseases one by one, and first disease we will study about rabies. It is named as rabies because in Latin it means to rag, and the genus that is named as Lyssavirus, it means frenzy. So these two words, they mean that the classical symptoms of rabies. In different part of our country, they are known by different name like hydrophobia, tolewart, mad dog, gelatanka, and many other names. All these names, they are mostly based on the clinical pictures of the rabies. So they are in the local language, they are representing the classical symptoms of rabies virus. Now coming to the introduction of this disease, it is a viral infection and generally observed or contracted in all the warm-blooded animals. Principally, they are characterized by nervine signs, and it has potential to be a zoonotic disease. It means that this infection can be transmitted from infected animals to the susceptible human. Now, history is important for this disease or this virus because there are documentation since 2300 BC back where similar symptoms are documented. That's why it is considered as it is present since very long time. There are important scientists gave contribution in development in understanding of this virus, their pathogenesis, their transmission mechanism, and development of vaccine. The important contribution given by Louis Pasteur in the late 19th century and successfully developed vaccine. Now this is a irony of our humankind that even though we have the vaccine since 1 century before that is effective, then also we could not control the disease at present in many developing countries. It costs about 60,000 human deaths at present in a year due to rabies. Now, with history, we can see the etiology. Etiology, earlier I had discussed that the virus falls under the genus Lyssavirus and that is comes under the family Rhabdoviridae. Importantly, there is no serotype of this rabies virus, and only principal rabies virus is considered as a classical strain of rabies virus. Beside this one, even though there is no serotype, but there are some rabies related viruses, and these rabies related viruses, they are present principally in developed country, and they pose a difficult challenges in diagnosis of classical rabies. But they are not present or they cannot be reported from countries like us. That's why there is a little difficulty in development of various SOPs and strategies for eradication of rabies in countries like us. Now, there are two words, fix and street virus, and it must be clear in all your mind, because fix and street virus sometimes they may ask in definition or differentiation. So we will see that fixed virus, generally the word itself tells that they are fixed in some criteria. For example, their incubation period is fixed, the typical clinical signs are the fixed, the transmission is fixed, the pathogenesis is fixed, and that's why they can easily predicted once they are infected or infection is given to some animal. Generally, these viruses are lab attenuated form of street virus, and because of lab attenuation, their characteristics are well defined. In contrast to fixed virus, there is a street virus. Sometimes it is also known as wild virus, or you can say field virus, and their nature is unknown, or you can say you cannot predict their outcome. For example, the incubation period is variable. The transmission mechanism is variable. They may produce or may not produce the characteristic inclusion body. So, in nutshell, their characteristics are not fixed. They may be variable. That's why it's not easy to predict in compared to fixed virus. Now, virion property. Virion, earlier in general class also I had discussed that they are envelope and they have characteristic bullet shape. Their genome are single stranded RNA virus with negative polarity, and they are linear in shape, and that encodes 5 important genes, and susceptibility is very and they may be destroyed very easily by formalin and phenol, whereas the virus integrity can be preserved if you will store samples in glycerol based buffers. So that's why glycerol based PBS is recommended for storage of rabies virus suspected samples. And this is similar to that rhabdoviridae in general. L protein, that is the largest protein that stand for polymerase, that is RNA dependent RNA polymerase. G, that is studied on the surface or envelope. G, that stand for glycoprotein, and that is important for tissue tropism and for production of virus neutralizing antibody. N, that stand for nucleoprotein. This is most abounding protein, and that is chief target for development of diagnostic tests for rabies virus. NS, sometimes it is also referred as phosphoprotein, and that play important role in assembly of ribonucleoprotein complex. And M, that stand for matrix protein. This matrix protein generally that guide for assembly of new virions. Now, virus replication, earlier I had told that entire replication perform inside the cytoplasma host cell, and generally they are comes out from the cell by budding and principal secretion, that is a saliva that contain virus in very high amount. That's why biting of animal with saliva, virus enter in new host, and that will lead to the transmission of virus. Now, coming to the host, in general, a single statement we can make that any warm-blooded animal is susceptible for rabies disease, and this statement may ask in your exam. Beside this one, some hosts they are considered as reservoir hosts. There are some hosts they are considered as an occasional host, but the vampire bats are considered as a special host because even though they carry the virus, they does not show any symptoms. That's why sometimes they are considered as a carrier, and for disease they are considered non-pathogenic to this virus. If you can classify it based on susceptibility, then the wild animals that falls under family canids like fox, jackals or wolf, they are considered as most susceptible, whereas domesticated animal like dog, sheep, goat, they are considered as a moderate susceptible. Whereas the birds and some primitive mammals, they are considered as a low susceptible or resistant to the disease. Sometimes some animals are considered as a dead end host. Dead end host means those animal from which disease cannot be transmitted to new susceptible host. They are considered as a dead end host. Even human is considered as a dead end host for rabies virus. Now moving to the transmission. Transmission generally happens by two principal criteria. One, that is a dog bite transmission that accounts for 95% in developing country, whereas the second criteria, that is considered lab accident, caves, and inside caves bats are playing important role in transmission of disease. That means the aerosol transmission happens inside the labs and caves. They are possible, but their percentage are very less. But in developed country, if you will see the statistic, then maximum cases are transmitted by bat, whereas in developing countries like us, a maximum cases are transmitted by dog, and their percentage are above 95%. So this is an important statistic based on we can decide our control strategy. Generally, this particular virus are harbor or maintained in field in two important cycle. One that is known as salvific cycle, second that is known as urban cycle. The important difference between these two cycles is in salvific cycle, wild animals are playing role in maintaining this virus, whereas in urban cycle, dogs are playing important role in maintenance of this virus. That's why these two cycles are important, and they may be bridging to share the virus from wild animals to dog or domestic animal. Now coming to the prevalence, this virus is considered as prevalent throughout the world. But there are many countries, because of their geographical location like island, they may be free of rabies, whereas there are some countries which have strict implementation of control strategy, and because of them there is a drastic reduction of classical rabies cases. If we are talking about the India, in general India is considered as an endemic country for rabies, but there are some island like Andaman Nicobar, they are considered as a free of rabies. Worldwide, if we will see the statistic, then every year around 50,000 humans are dying because of classical rabies, whereas out of this 50,000, 30,000, we can say that almost 50% burden of this mortality are contributed by India only. If you will see in India, half of all cases of worldwide, they are reported from India. This is human cases, and many of them are transmitted by dogs, and these particular diseases are principally reported in children under 50 years of age. Means school going children are principal target for this particular rabies disease. Now coming to the pathogenesis. Pathogenesis, earlier I had told that the disease is transmitted by two principal way. One, by biting of the rabid animal. Second, that is by inhalation or aerosol route. Of course, inhalation route is not so much prominent in developed country like us, but the biting by rabid animal, that is a principal source, and biting that leads to the disease, that depends on 5 important factors. Age of animal, distance of bite from the brain. It means if it is away from your brain, it will take long time to reach the brain, and ultimately there is a long incubation period. Degree of wound are classified in different degree. If class 3 wound, that have deep wound, that has more chances of developing disease. And next, that is virulence of virus and the concentration of virus. So virulent with high concentration will produce disease very early. That's why, as these 5 factors are playing important role in development of disease, that's why their incubation period is very vague. We cannot predict the incubation period, but in general, it is 14 days to 19 days. But there are human rabies report that are seen even after many years. So in nutshell, incubation period or prediction of disease is not the fix, that depends on all these 5 factors. But once it will enter inside the body, that follow up classical cycles, or you can say classical pathway. The first, that is, inside the, after biting with a rabid animal, they will deliver virus in local muscles or connective tissue where it requires to replicate. That is considered as first replication, and this first replication will increase the amount of virus, and after increasing virus amount, that will move to the next stage, that is entry inside nervous system. So nervine ending, where acetylcholine is act as a receptor, so this virus enter inside this one, and then that will try to move towards this brain tissue. So this centripetal movement will leads to the bringing of this virus towards the central part, or you can say that leads reach to the brain, and while reaching it cause or damage this tissue, and because of that tissue damage it may cause the furry lesions, or it may show the dump or paralytic form of rabies. Now once it will reach to the main center of nervine system, that is a brain tissue, after brain tissue that will damage, and that will distributed to various distal organ. Now here we can see that once the rabid dog or rabid animal bite to the human, the first thing is it will go the local replication of virus. After local replication, it enters to the local nerve. From this local nerve, it will try to reach to the brain, that is a centripetal movement of the virus. Inside the brain, again they will replicate and produce a large amount of virus. Because of this, that will produce the large amount of damage, and that leads to the nervine symptoms. Once it will reach to the large amount, now the second phase start, that is a centrifugal distribution of this virus. So from this, now they will distribute it to various tissue. They are remotely located, such as eye, kidney, salivary gland, and all these tissue secretions is act as a potent source for transmission of disease to the next animal. Now in brief, we can say that once it will enter inside the body, now that will move towards the CNS system. So you can say from peripheral nerve it will move to the central nervous system. This movement is known as centripetal movement, and from CNS it will move to the other tissue like salivary gland. That movement is known as centrifugal movement. Now coming to the classical symptoms of this rabies disease. Rabies disease are generally, there are two clinical forms. One that is known as furious form, whereas second form is known as dumb, or sometimes it is also known as paralytic form. So furious form, generally this is characterized by exaggerated response or violence or fringy behavior, whereas dumb form, generally that is characterized by incoordination or paralysis of the animal. There is a labored breathing, and animal is unable to move from one place to other place. Of course, there is a response to the external stimuli in both the form, but in furious form, animal try to bite to the inanimate object, and aimlessly movement is seen. Now you can say that this is a classical furious form, where animal is try to bite, or they will try to make harm by themselves. Sometimes you can observe the labored breathing, excessive salivation, and one more typical features is micturition, that is a frequent micturition. So whenever you want to suspect the rabies, you can suspect based on history. Along with history, first excessive salivation, change in sound, that is bellowing, and frequent micturition. These are the three important clinical signs. Based on these three sign, you can suspect that animal might be rabies positive. Lesion, if you can see, there is no gross lesion, but microscopically you can found the characteristic intranuclear inclusion body. Sometimes Babes nodules are also reported, and in pathological symptoms, you can see non-suppurative encephalitis. So non-suppurative encephalitis is a characteristic of rabies-induced encephalitis. Now sample collection, whenever we are talking about sample collection, it is important to know that brain is considered as a most ideal sample, and that need to be collected in 50% glycerin saline solution. If you want to go for histopathology, formalin is okay, but when virus isolation is your main target, then you have to collect in 50% glycerin saline solution. Typically books are telling that half brain you have to collect it in the glycerin buffer solution, whereas half brain you have to collect in formalin. Beside brain tissue, you can also collect corneal impression smear, saliva from the antemortem animal, and if it is a post-mortem, that from the brain. Medulla, cerebellum and hippocampus are considered as an important part of the brain for diagnosis of sample. Now there is a difference that if you are collecting brain from the cattle, then there is a different part, that is a cerebellum is considered as an important source, whereas if you are collecting from dog, then hippocampus is considered as an important sample for diagnosis of rabies. But in no case blood or serum is advisable to collect the rabies diagnosis. Again I am repeating, in no case blood or serum is help to diagnose virus antigen. So that's why no need to collect the serum or blood, except you are targeting antibody detection post vaccination to evaluate the vaccine response. You can collect the serum. Now this is a brain tissue. You have to open and you have to collect the hippocampus or the hippocampus, depend on the species. This is the collection of saliva. You can collect, if it is not drooling saliva, you can use the swab for collection of saliva and preparation of smear. Like this you can prepare the saliva smear. This is a corneal impression smear. You have to touch the slide in such a way that it cannot damage the animal's eye, and you get the perfect impression from eyeball. Now after collection of these samples, how you can proceed for diagnosis of disease? So first and foremost is his history and clinical sign. If there is a history of dog bite, that is tells that there is a more probability of rabies. Clinical signs like frequent micturition, excessive salivation, change in voice, these are the three important clinical signs that is indicative of rabies. Again, if you have that suspected animals who bite that animal, if you can keep that animal in quarantization or dog in quarantization, if dog will die within 10 days, then you can suspect that rabies might be present. If dog not died in 10 days, then that shows that it's negative for rabies. Now serological tests, there are various serological tests can be employed for diagnosis of this disease, but FAT, means fluorescent antibody test, is considered as a gold standard test for rabies diagnosis, and it is internationally accredited for rabies diagnosis. Sometime HA is also performed, but HA it required goose RBC. I would like to clarify here that HA sometimes it is employed or considered as a gold standard test for some other virus, but here it has very less important in diagnosis of rabies. But every HA that required different species of RBC, and that species name is important because many times examiner may ask that in HA which type of RBC, which species RBC is required, and here goose RBC is important for performing HA for diagnosis of rabies. One more that is known as RFFIT. This is an abbreviation may ask in your exam. RFFIT that stand for Rapid Fluorescent Foci Inhibition Test. It is again internationally recommended test for assessing the anti-rabies antibody level. So, RFFIT generally perform for assessing your antibody titer after vaccination. That will not directly help for diagnosis of rabies. In molecular test, various PCR, real-time PCR and other molecular test has been standardized and routinely used for diagnosis of rabies in various antemortem and postmortem samples. Virus cultivation, of course, that is a standard test, but it requires laborious work, it requires sophisticated instrument, and it may transmit, or there are large number of chances to laboratory acquired infection. But principally, Vero and BHK, these two cell lines are considered as the most susceptible cell line for virus isolation, and generally these two cell lines are principally used for development of rabies cell culture based rabies vaccine. Mouse inoculation, MIT, that is also considered as most sensitive test. It is thought that even a single virus particle can be used or detected by this test, but again it has some intrinsic disadvantages, like you require the approval, you have to wait for 15 to 21 days to get the conclusive result, and it is laborious. Now, if you are inoculated in mice, then it has some peculiar signs, like there is a posterior paralysis, circling off, there is a circling movement of this mice, and there are ocular and nasal discharge. So after inoculation of suspected material in intracranial way, after 5th day you may observe this type of clinical symptoms, and that is based on the load of virus. If animal found normal after 21 days of inoculation, then you can consider test is negative. The last, that is histopathological examination. Cellular stain generally performed to demonstrate the Negri body. Cellular stain is sometimes asked in your exam, and you can found intracytoplasmic inclusion body, and this is a typical Negri bodies that is indicative of rabies disease in the sample. Now, presence of Negri body, that is undoubtedly tells that rabies is positive, but absence of Negri body is never conclusive or never tells that rabies is absent. Now, coming to the treatment, currently there is no treatment is available in the world. Only thing, different regime can be adopted that can enhance or that can increase the incubation period, but you can easily control the disease even after biting if you can take the appropriate prophylactic measures like vaccination and rig at the 0th day. Control strategy, there are 5 important points you have to remember, and this will be common for other disease control also. Animal birth control, you have to control animal birth so that there is a less chances of rabid dog and there is less transmission. The second, infrastructure for garbage disposable. This is also indirectly associated with the population of dog control. The third, that is a vaccination. You can go for vaccination of human as well as dog. That will help to provide or build up the immunity against this dreaded disease. Mass oral vaccination is also possible in wild animal, but there need to be evaluated before doing mass vaccination of stray dog by oral vaccine. But in a injectable vaccine can be employed for mass vaccination of stray dog, and that is a effective way to control. This is one of the effective way to control the rabies in the dog population. Awareness is evergreen, and it is really effective tool to control the rabies when we have a effective vaccine and diagnostic. In such cases, awareness is playing an important role in controlling this disease. This is a photograph. You can see that this is a symbol that will tells that if we are taking the effective measures for breaking this cycle, then we can easily control the disease. For example, this is transmission from bat to human. This is a principal route in developed country. We can break this one. This is also possible, and we can break this by oral vaccination. Dog to human, that is also can be effectively contained by creating awareness or post-bite or prophylactic vaccination. So this is in brief that will show that how disease is transmitted and how we can control the rabies, how we can take the different step to control the rabies. Now coming to the prevention, there are two: pre-exposure and post-exposure vaccination. Because vaccination is considered as an important tool for prevention of this disease, and we are talking about pre-exposure, means before exposure to disease you need to take 3 doses, that is on 0 day, 7 day or 21 or 28 day, and that should be followed by annual vaccination or that based on the risk group under which you are classified. Post-exposure prophylaxis, that depends on which type of wound you have, because wound are generally classified under 3 category. If you have category 1 wound, that is simple touching and licking, then there is no need of vaccination or any treatment. If you have category 2 wound, where is slightly breaking of skin, then you need to go for wound disinfection and vaccine only. But if you have class 3 category, that is multiple transdermal bite, and there is involvement of subcutaneous tissue that is near to your brain tissue, in such category of wound you require 3 things: that immediately you need a wound cleaning, that is thorough cleaning of wound, that must be followed by inoculation of rabies immunoglobulins that will provide the passive immunity, and it must be associated with vaccine full regime, that is a complete 5 dose of vaccine. Wound cleaning must be thorough, at least for 10 to 15 minutes with available soap, that will reduce the chances of getting disease up to 50%. Then you have to go for applying pressure if there is active bleeding, but in no case there is advisable to take the suture, because it will increase the injury and there might be chances that virus enter inside your body through that injury. Passive immunization, I had talked that there are two types of hyper rabies immunoglobulins are available in market. One that is known as H-rig, that is human based rig, and second E-rig, that is equine based rabies immunoglobulins, that need to give in category 3. There is guidelines available by ICMR that there must be a local infiltration in the wound in such a way that it will cover 100% surface area of your wound. Active immunization, vaccination is important, and all the 5 doses need to be taken on recommended days. Generally it is recommended that on 0 day you have to take first dose, and followed that 3, 7, 4, 28 or 20 or 19. 19 days are nowadays not preferred, but up to 28 day it is advisable to take all the regimes if you are exposed to rabies virus. Generally in adult, deltoid area is preferable. In case of children, anterior-lateral aspect of thigh is preferred for injection. Now why this particular site is preferred for inoculation, that is point to ponder. You have to find out, and we will discuss in our chat group. Now if animal is previously vaccinated or human is previously vaccinated, then only 2 dose or 3 dose is sufficient, but that need to be taken on immediate after biting of animal. Now these are the different vaccines available in market, like Fermi vaccine, sample vaccine, beta propionate, inactivated vaccines, then duck egg vaccine, live attenuated vaccine, tissue culture based vaccine. Now at the present, now you can see since 2004, tissue culture or tissue based vaccines are obsoleted. Now they are not recommended, and even many developing countries had discontinued the use of that sample vaccine, which is based on inactivation of tissue. Now they are converted, or they are switched over to the tissue culture or cell culture based vaccine. And at present there are many companies, they are trying to develop recombinant technology based vaccine which can be easily given to animal without force or without any threat to the handler. Human rabies, there are different international and national company, they are produced under different brand name like Rabivac, Rabipur, Verorab, India Ram. They have different substrate and different strains are used, and you should remember the strain of this particular rabies vaccine. These are the various animal rabies vaccines available in market, and they are different brand names, and they are also developed based on different substrate and different strain. So again, from this you have to remember that different strain of rabies vaccine like PV11, CVS11, okay, SAD, SAG. So this strain you should remember. The name of strain is important for exam point of view. Now oral vaccination, that is an important point you have to remember. Oral vaccination means those vaccination can be given orally, and generally these vaccination are important for mass vaccination. They are successfully employed and used in European country for control of rabies in wild animals. But it need to be evaluated in Indian situation before giving it to stray dog, because we don't have that much problem of wild animal rabies, but we have problem of dog mediated rabies, and that can be, there is a potential to use the oral vaccine to vaccinate or mass vaccination of these stray dogs. Now oral vaccination, generally this is prepared like this sachet form. This contains sometime recombinant or some strains which can be effective in oral vaccination. This is covered with some meat-like particles, so that will act as a bait for wild animal. Once this wild animal consume or open this one, that will splash and that will enter through mucosa to the body and provide the protection against rabies. Now, vaccine testing, there are two important tests that may ask in your exam, that is Hubble test and NIH test. NIH, that is abbreviation of National Institute of Health, that is in USA, that had recommended one testing regime for evaluation of rabies vaccine. So these two names you have to remember. Now this is all about the disease rabies that may ask in your long type of question, and there might be some objective type of question. Now moving to the second disease, that is known as bovine ephemeral fever. This is also known as 3-day sickness, and this may ask in your exam the synonyms of 3-day sickness and etiology of bovine ephemeral fever. Generally, there is no important things, but you have to remember few points like this is a non-contagious epigenetic arthropod-borne disease. Arthropod-borne disease because they are transmitted by some arthropods, and generally it is characterized by onset of fever, depression, stiffness and lameness. And this is caused by epiphemerovirus. This is similar to rabies virus. Host, all breed are susceptible, but water buffalo are considered as an important host. Transmission, insect like sandfly and mosquito are playing important role, and the summer season where these mosquitoes are flaring up, they can help to transmit the disease. So most of cases are reported in summer because of prevalence of this arthropod. Pathogenesis, this is similar, that arthropod borne or arthropod are carrying up the virus from one animal and they will transmit to next susceptible animal. Clinical signs, the important feature of clinical signs that it shows biphasic, triphasic or polyphasic. It means that the disease is going up and down at some interval. This is a characteristic of this disease, and along with this there is a stiffness of body. So biphasic or triphasic fever with stiffness of body, that is indicative of bovine ephemeral fever disease. Of course, this causes the huge morbidity, that is almost reaches to 100%, but the morbidity is less than 1%. That's why it is of no much or not cause that much economic loss, and it is self-limiting. Self-limiting means that will limit or that will recover within the 3 days from the onset of disease, provided that should be given some palliative treatment. Now Diagnosis, this will follow the general rules of diagnosis that you can go for clinical sign, gross lesion, virus isolation, serological, molecular and lab animal inoculation. But it must be differentially diagnosed with some disease which have similar symptoms. Now, treatment, I had told that it can easily recovered within 3-4 days, but need to give a palliative or supportive treatment which is based on symptoms. Prevention control, vaccination is important, but it is not available in Indian scenario. Vector control, that is a one aspect. And if animal is infected and recovered, that provides solid immunity, it means the long lasting immunity is provided. So infection may act as a vaccination of that animal. So this is about the second disease, that is bovine ephemeral virus. The last disease, that is vesicular stomatitis, that is zoonotic disease, and it shows a stomatitis lesions. Now, vesicular stomatitis, the important animal is pig, but it may observe in cattle and horse, and it is similar to FMD. That's why it can interfere in the control strategies or control procedure of FMD. Generally, this is again transmitted by flies or arthropod, and this is also considered as arthropod-borne disease. Now, in clinical features, you can say such lesions or ulcer are observed on the dorsum of tongue of pig and cattle, and this is creating confusion with FMD. That's why many times it's misdiagnosed with FMD. And that pose the difficulty in control of FMD. Pathogenesis, pathology, that is similar. Diagnosis also similar to other viruses, but only thing that need to be differentiated from various vesicular diseases like FMD. Zoonotic importance, because it can be transmitted from animal to human, and in case of human it resembles to influenza like symptoms, that is mild fever, chills and muscles, and if there is no complication, that human can be easily recovered within 7 to 10 days. So this is all about the important disease caused by the viruses comes under the family Rhabdoviridae. If you have any doubt, you are most welcome to discuss about this one. If you can help me to improve this presentation, you are always welcome for the same. Once again, thank you all for listening me, and we'll come forward, or in coming days we'll come with a new video about new RNA family. Thank you everyone. Have a nice day.